In some cities in America, nurses make a lot of money, over $100,000 a year. But even with that big paycheck, they still can't afford to buy a home. This isn't because nurses are bad with money or don't work hard enough. It's because houses in these cities cost way too much compared to what nurses earn. I looked at over 590 cities across the US, comparing how much nurses make to how much houses cost, and what I found is shocking. In each of these 10 cities, even a nurse with a good salary couldn't get a loan to buy a normal house. The banks would simply say no. Some of these states have good rules to protect workers, like pay for working long hours and time off to take care of a new baby. But these good rules don't help much when your rent or house payments takes most of your paycheck. Let's look at the 10 worst cities for nurses trying to buy a home. The 10th worst city lands us in Thousand Oaks, California. Thousand Oaks is a clean, quiet, and super safe city just north of LA. You're close to the beach and the beautiful Santa Monica Mountains. The neighborhoods are great for families. It has top schools and big hospitals like Los Robles and UCLA Health where nurses can work. Nurses here make $111,260,000 a year, or about $80,688 after taxes. Houses here cost $1,043,411, with a monthly payment of $7,882. The problem? If you bought a house here, you'd be short $13,896 every single year. And that's if you even qualified for a mortgage, which you wouldn't because your income is not high enough to afford a house of this price. And renting doesn't help much either. A small one-bedroom apartment costs $3,800 per month. After paying rent, you'd only have $2,924 left each month for everything else: food, car, bills, and fun. That rent takes almost 45% of what you bring home in your paycheck. And here's what makes it even harder: DTI, debt to income ratio. This is how banks decide if they'll let you buy a house. It looks at how much of your money already goes to bills. Let's say you make $10,000 each month before taxes. Rent is $2,500 a month. That's 25% of your income. Car loan, $600 a month. That's 6% of your income. Student loans, $800 a month. That's 8% of your income. Credit cards, $300 a month. That's 3% of your income. That adds up to 42% of your money going towards bills. Most banks want this number to be 36% or less. So even if your rent seems okay now, other bills can make it impossible to buy a house. California does have good employee laws. Extra pay for working more than 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week. Double pay for working more than 12 hours in one day. Extra pay when working 7 days in a row. 12 weeks off to care for a new baby or sick family member, which is protected by the California Family Rights Act. Up to 8 weeks of paid family leave that pays 60 to 70% of your regular income. Up to $1,620 per week in benefits since 2024. And you can use sick time or vacation to get your full pay if you make more than that. Your job is also going to be waiting for you when you return. California protects nurses on paper, but when your rent eats up almost half of your income, even these great benefits are not going to help you save money or build wealth in certain parts of California. And if you think Thousand Oaks is bad, wait until you see what nurses face in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Cambridge sits across the river from Boston. It's home to Harvard, MIT, and world-class hospitals like Mass General and Dana-Farber. It's a city full of smart people, but it's very expensive to live there. Nurses here make $99,750, or about $74,076 after taxes. Houses cost $997,000 with a monthly payment of $7,378. And the problem you're gonna have is that you'd be short $14,460 every single year. Rent is $3,500 per month. Just parking your car costs another $200 per month, minimum. And winter heating bills are very high because it gets so cold here that you're going to have to turn up the heat. But Massachusetts does have rules to protect nurses from working too much. You can't be forced to work more than 16 hours straight. Hospitals must report when they make people work overtime. And up to 12 weeks of paid family is what you get here in Massachusetts. You also get about 80% of your pay during leave, or up to $1,129 per week as of 2024. Your job is also going to be protected while you're away. Now, let's head west to Boulder, Colorado, where the mountains are high and so are the housing prices. Boulder is a beautiful city located right next to the Rocky Mountains. The scenery is amazing, but it's also one of the most expensive cities in Colorado. Nurses here make $85,410, or about $65,023 after taxes. Houses here also cost $978,582, with monthly payments of $6,942. But the problem you're gonna have here is that you'd be short $18,281 every year. Renting isn't much better. A typical apartment costs $2,600 per month, which is still very high for what nurses earn here. But here's why Boulder is so expensive. The city only allows 1% population growth per year. Height limits on buildings prevent taller apartments. Until recently, only 3 to 4 unrelated people could live together in one house. And high demand for housing but not enough homes being built is what is making it difficult for people to buy here in this part of Colorado. And Colorado has okay worker protections. You do get extra pay after 40 hours in a week or 12 hours in a day. You can take 12 weeks of unpaid family leave, and your job is protected during this leave. Colorado is also working on adding paid family leave soon. And Boulder is great for hiking on your days off, but not great if you're trying to afford a home. Speaking of expensive cities though, let's jump to the heart of Silicon Valley, San Jose, California. San Jose is the heart of Silicon Valley, where tech giants like Google and Apple are located. Tech workers here earn huge salaries, which drives up prices for everyone who lives here. Nurses make $163,070, about $111,359 after taxes. That's a lot of money, but houses here cost $1.45 million, with monthly payments of $10,952. The problem here is that even with this big salary, you'd be short $20,065 every single year. A one-bedroom apartment costs $2,938 per month. Food, gas, and childcare all cost much more here too. And California has great worker protections, as I mentioned previously, same as Thousand Oaks. Silicon Valley isn't the only place pricing out nurses. Let's head to the East Coast and check out Ocean City, New Jersey. Ocean City is a beach town on the Jersey Shore. It's a popular summer destination that's family friendly with boardwalks, beaches, and seasonal crowds. But for nurses who live here year round and work at nearby hospitals in Atlantic County, the math doesn't work out. Nurses here make $85,490, or about $65,875 after taxes. Houses cost $1,010,111 with monthly payments of $7,823. And the problem here is that you'd be short $28,001 every year. Rent is a bit better at $2,562 per month, but that still leaves you just about $2,928 per month for everything else: groceries, utilities, transportation, and any other debts. Ocean City has a seasonal economy too. Prices spike up during the summer and utility bills go up. Parking also becomes limited, and many essential items cost more during tourist season. New Jersey does offer some of the strongest paid leave benefits in the country: 12 weeks of job protected family leave, 12 weeks of paid family leave that pays 85% of your weekly wages, up to $1,081 per week in 2024, and solid overtime protection. You get 1.5 times your pay after 40 hours in a single week. The laws here also support you if you're starting a family or need time off, but housing prices still leave you financially vulnerable. Ocean City is tough, but we're just getting started. Back to California we go. Santa Clara is next on our list. Santa Clara is also in Silicon Valley, home to big tech companies like Intel and Nvidia. The tech industry has driven housing prices through the roof here. Nurses make $163,070, about $111,359 after taxes, and houses cost $1.74 million with monthly payments of $13,154. The problem here is that you'd be short $46,489 every year. A one-bedroom apartment costs $3,238 per month. Even with a six-figure salary, you'd spend over a third of your take-home pay just on a small apartment. California has great worker protections, same as other California cities. But now, let's head up to the Pacific Northwest, where Belleview, Washington is making life impossible for nurses. Bellevue is across the water from Seattle. It has great schools, low crime, and lots of tech jobs. Microsoft and many other tech companies have offices here. Nurses here make $102,680, or about $80,394 after taxes. And houses here cost $905,000 with monthly payments of $10,611. The problem? You'd be short $46,938 every year. Rent for a one-bedroom apartment is about $2,100 per month, which is better than some cities on our list, but still high compared to the nurse salaries. Washington has excellent work protections. Up to 12 weeks of paid family leave. You get up to 90% of your pay during this leave, or up to $1,542 weekly. Your job is also protected when you return. And starting in 2025, hospitals can't make you work overtime. If you work 12 hours, you must get 8 hours of rest in between. These are some of the best worker protections in the country, but the housing costs still make it hard to build wealth in this city. And if you thought the Pacific Northwest was expensive, wait until you see what's happening in Carlsbad, California. Carlsbad is a beautiful town north of San Diego. It has perfect weather year-round, pristine beaches, and great quality of life if you can afford it. Nurses here make $118,270, or about $84,904 after taxes. Houses here cost $1.49 million, with monthly payments of $11,207. And the problem here is that you'd be short $49,580 every year. A one-bedroom apartment costs $4,190 per month. That's over $50,000 per year for a small apartment. This would take nearly 60% of a nurse's after-tax income. California has great workers' protections, as I mentioned before. And if you think Carlsbad, California is challenging, wait till you see Sunnyville, California, where we take things to a whole new level. Sunnyville is in Silicon Valley, near companies like Apple and Google. The tech industry has made this one of the most expensive places to live in the entire country. Again, nurses here make $163,070 a year, or $111,359 after taxes. Houses, however, cost over $2 million, with monthly payments of $15,742. The problem here is that you're going to be short $77,545 every year. Rent is about $3,000 a month, which is actually lower than some cities in this list, but still very expensive. Living costs in Sunnyvale are 3 times the national average. Everything from groceries to haircuts costs more here. California has great worker protections, as I mentioned in every other city. And now for our number 1 worst city for nurses trying to afford homes, Santa Barbara, California. Santa Barbara tops our list as the worst city for nurses trying to buy homes. It has gorgeous beaches, perfect weather year-round, and the most expensive housing in our study. Nurses here make $109,910 a year, about $79,863 after taxes. But houses here cost $1.78 million, with monthly payments of $13,457. And the problem here is that you'd be short $81,621 every year. Even rent is tough here at $4,500 per month. That's more than 2/3 of what a nurse takes home in their paycheck. After paying rent, you'd have very little left over for anything else. And again, California has great work protections, and these cities are beautiful. They're popular, and the rich choose to live there for a reason. But none of that matters if you can't afford to live there on a nurse's salary. Even with 6-figure paychecks, the housing markets in these cities make it impossible for most nurses to build long-term wealth. And while some states have great benefits, like paid leave, job protection, and overtime laws, those protections don't mean much if your rent or mortgage takes up more than half of your income. Nurses in these areas face tough choices. Live with roommates well into adulthood, commute 1 to 2 hours each way from more affordable areas, change careers to something that pays even more, or move to a completely different part of the country. That's why I'm building Map My Pay, to help nurses see exactly what their paycheck is worth after taxes, housing costs, rent in almost every major city in the US. So click the link pinned in the comment or the description to be notified when we launch it. Also, if you thought this video was interesting and you want to know how I make $109 an hour as a staff nurse and my wife makes $140 as a per diem nurse, click on this video here.